Hi, good morning everybody. My name is Chrissy and in this video I'm going to be giving you a prediction reading, but I'm going to focus specifically on the finances. Now, I thought it'd be really interesting just to see where we're heading financially in 2022, because I know a lot of us are feeling a little bit challenged and confused by all this. So I'm just going to close my eyes and we'll just see what comes through around the monetary and financial sort of systems. So definitely getting that the global elites are continuing to make their wealth. It's not even hard for them now. It's just rolling in. That they've sort of achieved the goals that they wanted to, but now their goal is to just achieve that constant flow now. And I think we already know that that's continuing as they keep continuing to roll out the jabs. No, but this is actually what's actually happening. They've got their continuous flow now pouring in. I still get that people are going to be disgusted by the amount of money that has been passing hands. That's something that people aren't aware of. People think these medical professionals or whoever they might be are out to protect them and look after their health. But as majority of us know out there, this has never been about health. This has always been about power. So I'm definitely getting that there's... the wealth is just being grown in one specific area. I think that's pretty obvious because everybody else is being pushed and squashed down here into the corner. I still feel like the financial markets are going to crash. I still feel like there is going to be a crash, and it'll be a big crash. I don't know if you remember the one where a lot of people lost their superannuation. It was quite a while ago. It might have been 2011. I can't remember. And a lot of people lost a lot of their super. Well, this is the kind of thing that's going to happen again. So I'm guessing if you've got money sort of anywhere, maybe pull it out or go and invest it into something concrete. Buy yourself a block of land, go and buy something. They're talking about gold and silver bullion as well at the moment as a good investment because it always holds its value really well. So I think there's some good suggestions that maybe try and think about doing a few things differently this year. People are definitely spending less, and I think that's a wise move. And I think that's not just around being conservative with money. I also believe that people are more aware of the environment, as in they can see the wastage and the damage that it's causing sort of to the planet. So I think that people are cutting back. I think that's a subconscious thing too. I don't think people are doing that intentionally, but they're not spending as much money and not wasting as much money as they were pre-pandemic. People have really pulled that in, and it could be that they're not going out as much and you're not needing as many clothes and things like this, but the amount of wastage is becoming quite highlighted to people. So I think people are sort of putting more thought into their purchases. So I'm definitely getting that for 2022, that there won't be as much wastage and spending on superfluous things. It will be more than necessary items. And that's not just because of the costs going up and people don't have the money. It's more about the logic in they don't want the wastage because they can see that a lot of things were kind of irrelevant. And this is kind of sort of part of the point of the reset too, really. There are some aspects that are okay about it, is that we need to kind of get back to basics a little bit, because the world was just getting caught up with the materialism, as in the biggest vehicle and having the boat and having the caravan and having the perfect life and having all the gadgets and everything that opens and shuts. Well, I feel like there's been a real pullback financially on that. That's what's happening this year. People aren't wasting their money on just getting the latest phones or the latest gadgets. Like, they're seeing the enormity of the wastage and the things. A lot of more people are opening up to that. And that could even be, to me, part of the awakening process too, of how to stop the wastage and the plastic bags in the waterway. Simple things as well as complex things. But that's, I feel like, something that's going to, financially, people are pulling in the reins a lot around wastage. I still feel like financially, a lot of people, especially if they're not awake, are in a bit of a blasé kind of mindset. They're not being realistic to what's actually coming. People think this is just the normal kind of price hikes, and then we'll get over it. It'll just go for 6 months and then it'll get back under control. But that's an illusion, and I was saying that yesterday about this illusion of the stream being no depth to it. That's the illusion. They've created a very good illusion that this is just the normal sort of cost of living when you go into war, and we know that's the narrative they always use. But we know that's got no connection, because this has always been about the reset and the agenda and implementing the new direction for the economy. So of course they're going to start to put the prices up so they can start to get control of the economy. So I'm definitely getting that. But a lot of people are very blasé about that, and they think that the prices will go down and everything's fine. But they don't realise that we're like heading into this uphill battle financially now. People just think it's like things from the past that just go away soon enough. Once the war's ended, if Russia and Ukraine settle, then we'll all settle in. This is the kind of mindset a lot of people have around finances. But as we know, 2022, that's not what this is about. This is about climbing and creeping the finances up so that people are forced to collapse and crash and sort of hit that rock bottom point. Hopefully they don't, but that's sort of what their goal is. So people can't afford things, and then they fail, and they have to hand their houses in, or they have to give up their mortgages, give up their loans, car loans even. These things, if interest rates move, they go right up. So this is all things across the board. It's not just one specific thing. This financial crisis that's coming, and look, I'm not saying it's going to just happen overnight, and but I feel like, I think I said it kicks off in April, and then we've got this up the rung every time we take a step. It's like going upstairs, I guess you could say, or a ladder. You're going up a rung sort of every month. So there's always going to be, I think, a lot of consistent shifts this year when it comes to finances. And like I said, as much as it can be negative, that cost of living, it can also have positive outcomes. And I often say that in my videos about sometimes from something negative you get positive outcomes. So, if nothing else, it's going to help the environment enormously to just make it a nicer environment to live in. So there's not all garbage in the creeks and all this wastage at the tip-in landfill, and it's just a waste. So that's definitely something that I'm getting in 2022. There's going to be just more awareness created even by this rise in finance. Homeowners rather, are going to really struggle with their home loans. Like, I think we know where that's headed. If you're not locked in to a good rate and a good time period, you're going to really struggle with these things. And I think that's going to hit hard and hit pretty fast in the housing market. I mean, it doesn't take much to move a percentage or two, and then boom, things are really, really tight for people. They've got to scrape and pillage and find that extra little few $1,000s a year or whatever it is, which could mean some people might have to take up second jobs, or look at other ways of making up that shortfall, which is not going to be easy to juggle your time. And these are the kind of things that then create more stress in your life, because you have less time for leisure and for spending with your family. So this is where the balance is going to start to get a little bit to that sort of tipping point. I'll just see what else comes up around finances. Now, I'm definitely getting like, don't make any snap decisions. So never make your decisions in haste this year. When you're making decisions, and I've said this before, really weigh up the pros and cons. Put a lot of thought into your purchases, because you want to be purchasing, for example, a house that's going to have good value in years to come. Cars are always a challenge, I know. If you're purchasing a car, I think a lot of us are being forced to kind of get hybrids and look at electric cars now, purely because of the price of fuel. They are really controlling that market, and I think financially we all know that that's become really, really obvious in pushing their agendas. So really weigh up those pros and cons of what's going to be the best value for money. it's all well and good to get, you know, the car that you want, but it costs you a fortune, but then it's not practical on the emissions or whatever, because you have to also remember that they've pretty much implemented their digital platforms to create the credit scoring system. So you've also got to have a car that's economical now, because we know none of this was about the virus. This is about, are you complying? Are you doing the right things for your environment? Have you driven too many kilometres? These are the kind of things that they'll start to focus on down the track. So when you're making your purchases, just put that real thought onto things moving forward, like, wow, like, where's this, try and get that vision of where's this all headed, and what can I afford at this time that's going to be very viable for me moving into that future of perhaps the credit scoring system, because that's something to really think about, isn't it? And I know there's a lot of people here that drive, I think it's a Ford Everest, there's a few cars anyway, that are diesel, and you still have to add the AdBlue to them. Now, apparently there's a shortage of AdBlue out there. A lot of the truck drivers are having problems with all this, so they could also just stop that, and then you're sort of stuck. So this is what I mean about do your research, do your homework when you're purchasing anything, especially purchasing a house. That's a really crucial one. And look at the things like insurances. I know here Lismore, the town up north that recently flooded here in Australia, they're actually getting flooded again about 2 weeks later. And it's a disaster up there because nobody had insurance, because the insurances were like $20,000 a year, which here in Australia no one can afford. So this is the kind of stuff you've got to look at where you're buying. Like, you know, how are you going to ever replace things if you're living in a flood zone or you're in a high prone fire area? Look into your insurances, because if you're looking to pay $20,000 a year, these are the kind of small things that can really add up and make your life very challenging financially. So that's what I'm saying about do your pros and cons this year. It's very important that you really get things right this year, so you don't end up in any sort of challenging and difficult financial situations. Now I do get cars are still going to be priced through the roof. Cars are going up and up in price, and it's a catch-22. Like, we all need cars, and they know we need cars, and they're not going to drop their prices. So we are a little bit stuck now in that loop, in that bubble when it comes to buying cars, and that's why I'm so focused on that. You have to put your thought into it and really look at your future going forward, and how you're going to navigate this kind of new technology and the new, I can't even say it, the new world order, but how we're going to navigate the new world that's kind of coming, which we know is kind of going to be digital, electric, solar. You know, this is the way they're looking at everything, but and none of that makes any sense, because Bill Gates apparently is building some big, huge, ginormic, $1,000,000 mansion right near the water. So how does that work? If he believed that there was tides rising and water rising, he wouldn't be building right there. So again, we've still got a lot of question marks about a lot of things. So do what's going to be right for you, and really put your thoughts on your finances in 2022 before you make any really snap decisions. Now, globally, I'm getting there's going to be a lot of really tight financial restrictions. And I mean, we've already seen that in Canada when he froze the bank accounts. But what I'm saying, that was with Trudeau. But what I'm saying is that it's going to be tight restrictions on bank accounts, as in the loaning. They're going to have tighter restrictions on giving out loans, and this is where they start to get that control. I think here in Australia they're already talking about government can support you with 20% of the loan, or government can put up the deposit, and then you can have the home loan. But then that sounds really dodgy, doesn't it? Because it's like, well, then virtually the government's going to forever own your home. Your kids will never benefit, because they'll just take it from you because they own a quarter of it or whatever. So I don't know how that's going to work, but these are the kind of ways they're going to start to try and get some control, and it's going to be subtle, I think, in 2022, but they're going to start to it's almost like squirm their way into pretending they're supporting people when really they're kind of wanting to take ownership of a lot of things. So that's something to be really wary of. If government's offering things, it's always pretty much too good to be true, then it pretty much usually is. So these are the things I'm kind of seeing in 2022. Just be very wary of falling for those traps. And I did say yesterday in my video about the worm on the fishing hook, this is how they hook people in. They give you the little, come here, hop on this little hook and eat this little worm. So they feed you little rewards and then they reel you in. So you have to have your eyes open when it comes to finances this year, because that's going to be crucial to your decision making process. And that's globally, that's for everybody out there. Really put your thought into the things that you're purchasing, and not getting caught up with the government trappings. Is probably what I'm trying to say, because they're very good at manipulation and creating and moving in those directions that they want to keep sort of their agenda going. And this is how they get that monetary control. They squirm in slowly into people's lives. I'll just see if there's a last message today on finance. Oh, they're showing me like bells ringing, and I'm getting like, they're like small bells, but then there's the town crier. So it's like, hear ye, hear ye. And he's got the scroll and he's opening up the scroll, and he's making an announcement. Now, this is what I'm getting for 2022. There's going to be some sort of announcement, and this could be on a global scale. And I do believe it's going to be a big global announcement that's going to be kind of around the structure of the finances. Now, this could be to do with like crypto. It could be to do with all this digital passports. It could be to do with a lot of these kind of things that have kind of been buzzwords, and I know they're kind of going around, but I feel like there'll be a lot more coming out on this scroll, and there's going to be like announcements made about, well, we're doing this moving forward, and this is on a global scale. So I feel like this year we're going to hear a lot more about the financial directives kind of thing, where they're wanting to direct us and how they're wanting to implement complete change over our financial systems. And I'm going to leave you with that today, because I feel like that's enough to absorb for one reading. So I feel like this is what's happening. They're definitely going to make like big announcements this year. We're going to be deleting this, but we're going to be implementing this. We're going to be using these. So there's big change. There's big change financially in 2022, leading into next year as well. So when these things happen, it's very important that you don't actually go into panic mode, because it's very easy to panic and let your fear and anxiety rise up when you're uncertain and you're unsure of what's kind of going on. But like I say in a lot of my videos, sometimes there can be positive outcomes from negative experiences. So I want you to hold that in your mind today, that just because something sounds like it's going to be horrific, and we know the elites are going to make their money out of it all as usual, it doesn't mean that it's all negative for us. Like I said, sometimes when we're cutting things financially, it has a positive effect on just the wastage and the things like that. So that's an example of that. But when these things kind of get announced, don't start to panic and get full of fear and start to get anxious, because that's not going to help you. Just allow it. Just listen, allow, and accept what's going on, and then just try to understand it and navigate things to the best of your ability. Because I really believe that sometimes in these negative experiences, there can be positive outcomes. So don't go into panic mode around finances this year. Just remain really calm and just sort of absorb what's happening and just listen, but process really well and do your pros and cons. So look, that's all I've got for finance today. Thanks for watching. I appreciate my subscribers out there or anyone new to my channel. Please hit those like buttons. That always helps. Comment below. I love hearing from you guys. And I will see you in the next video. And take care, everybody. Bye from Australia. Bye.